Welcome back everyone to the Blender Creator course, Stylized 3D models, and this is where we left it off. Alright, so what I want to do now is I want to come into this floor and I'm going to, first of all, I will bring in an insert and then we can have those blocks actually going around the outside. So I'm going to press I and insert, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the whole thing. So I'm going to press L, I want to press E and bring it down just a little bit like so. And what you can also do is when you're pressing E or you're bringing, using the arrows like so, you can also hold the shift button and it'll really slow it down rather than it coming like this. If you hold the shift, much slower and easier to use. So let's bring it up to something like that. And then what I'm going to do is now I'm going to grab all of these going all the way around the outside. Now the easiest way to do that is to grab one of them and press Alt-Shift-Click. So Alt-Shift-Click twice, and then you can see it grabs it going all the way around. Now, depending on where you've got your mouse position is where it will actually select. So in other words, if I've got it this way, Alt-Shift-Click, it will select going all the way around here, as you can see. If I've got it going this way, Alt-Shift-Click, it will go all the way around here. Now, once we've got it, what I want to do is press E and extrude it a little bit, like so. And there we go. There is our actual grey box. Pretty much finished. We don't need to put in any kind of sophisticated things. We don't need to, put in any windows or anything like that. What we want is a really nice visual of how it's actually going to look. And from there, we can start building from that. Now, this is pretty much, the main body of the building. So it means that we can kind of change it. But what you should be happy with is the overall structure. You want to have a look and make sure everything of the overall structure you're actually happy with. Now, the next thing that you want to do is you want to light it and you want to actually have a look at what it's going to look like with the lighting. How the lighting is going to, interact with all the various parts in this building is important before you actually start building anything. Now, what I recommend you do, though, instead of bringing, like you'll see on normal courses, they'll bring in a sun and start lighting this. So, to bring in a sun, we'll press Shift A, we'll come down, we'll bring in a sun, we'll bring it up, and then we'll stop R, X, rotate it round, and then R and Z and rotate it round again. We've got a nice sun in there. Let's have a look what it looks like. So let's go on to, and there you go. Doesn't really look like anything. You can't really get an idea what this is going to look like because you're just dealing with the basic sun. So you might think, well, I'll just bring in another sun. So I'm just going to Shift D, duplicate it round, RZ 180, and now I can see something. But we've lost a lot of that light in there because we actually have two suns in the scene now. I don't recommend doing this at all. I think this is a bad way of actually working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that and delete our other sun. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save out my work. I'm going to open up the other file we had with the asset manager. So let's open that up now. All right, so here we find ourselves with the actual file opened. And what I recommend you do instead of, using those suns is I recommend you set up a sky within this scene here or another Blender scene, and then you can use it in your asset manager as well. So if we come over to the right-hand side where our world is, you'll see at the moment we have some very basic lighting in here. If I click this on, you'll see that all we've got in here at the moment is a sun. Now let's actually get rid of that sun. So I'm going to delete that sun and you'll end up with something like that. And let's come over to our world. And what I want to do is I want to click on New World. So click New World and we'll put it as Sky Lighting. And you can call it, of course, whatever you like. And now you'll see that we've got something called skylighting. And what do we do now? Well, what we need to do, first of all, at the moment, we are in shading panel. And we want to be in the shading panel, but we don't want to be in object mode. What we want to be in is world. And if I scroll out now, we can see that we've got a basic background with a strength of 1. If I turn this up, you'll see it gets much brighter. But we don't really want to use this because it's pretty much useless. It doesn't give you a lot of idea of what things are going to look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually come in and delete that out of the way. And then I'm going to bring in a sky texture. So let's press Shift A and we're going to go to search. So search, and then I'm going to print sky texture and bring that in. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this straight into my world output like so. Now what you can do is you can actually mark this as an asset. Now, I'm not going to do that yet because I'm going to change it a little bit. But what you can see is already how nice this actually looks in comparison to the suns that we brought in, or the the lighting that was in here before. It looks so much better. So that's what we want to do. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to come in and alter a few of these. So I'm going to set this to 0 degrees, and then I'm going to come in and set the intensity of the sun down to 0.05, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the sun elevation to 50 degrees. And you'll notice straight away that things are actually starting to change now. Let's set the sun rotation to 190. Again, you can play around with this. Just set them as I've got them here, and then you can actually really play around with it. Let's set the air then to 0.05, like so. Let's set the dust to 1.769. And let's set the ozone to 6.923, like so. So you should have all of these options like so, and you can see how nice that lighting actually looks already. So it's really, really nice. We shouldn't need anything else. And now what we can do is finally, we can come and right click and click mark as asset, like so, and then it's going to mark as an asset, and then we can go to our asset manager and we can come down to unassigned, and we'll see skylighting is there. Now let's come into where it says current file and where it says all. Let's click the plus button, and what we're going to do is we're going to call this world lighting. And this is really good because if you ever get any HDRIs that you want set up, anything like that, you can also bring those in here and put them in your world lighting and then use them in all your other scenes. So let's come to unassigned. Let's drag and drop this into world lighting, and there we are. Now let's come and click file and save, like so. Let that save out, and it needs to get rid of that little star there, and then you know it's saved. And then what you can do is you can now put this down. We can come back to our scene and we can click file and save, and hopefully then if I go to asset manager now, this is actually updated, which it is. Now at the moment, as we can see, we've got on nothing. If we come to world lighting, we've got our sky lighting. Drag, drop it in place. There we go, all set up for you. And now we can really see what our actual building is going to look like. Looking pretty nice, actually. Now, the other thing that I tend to do is, at the moment, if we go over to the right-hand side, we will see that we're on Eevee, which is great and all that. So now the good thing is that because we're using Blender 4, it means that we're actually using something called Eevee Next, which is the new Eevee engine. So you can see already that it's looking pretty nice, but we can actually make this look a little bit better. If we come in and bring in ambient occlusion, you can see now how all of this ambient occlusion actually starts affecting the scene. We can actually come down as well and increase the distance for the ambient occlusion. So let's bring this down a little bit. Let's have a look at the ray tracing and bring that up a little bit. Maybe got that a little bit too high, like so. And we're just going to basically set this out, how we actually want this before we actually start. We can also see we can add bloom in there, and we can add screen space reflections in there as well. So let's turn on ambient occlusion, screen space reflections. Let's mess around with this ray tracing now and just bring it back a little bit. Let's bring this down just a little bit like so. And we can see that we've got some really nice light bounce in there because this is the way the sun's looking. You can see we've got some really dark shadows in these parts as well. So it all looks really, really nice. We can also come over and put this on cycles as well, and we'll end up with something like that. And then what we need to do to use Blender, cycles in a good way is actually click on denoise. And what that's going to do is it's going to smooth everything out. Now for me, I still prefer using Blender cycles in the viewport, even though it takes a little bit longer, because for me personally, it gives me a better visual. For you though, you might need to use Eevee because you might have a lower end system or computer or something like that. Now the next thing we want to do before carrying on then, now we've got this set up, is go to file and save this out. So let's save it out, and then what we want to do is we want to use where it says device, we want to put this onto our GPU, in other words our graphics card. And the reason we want to do that is because the graphics card generally is much, much faster than your CPU. So let's click that on. And then what further we want to do is we want to go over to Edit, come down to Preferences, and we want to go over to where it says System. And on System, you can see Cycles, Render Devices. We want to put this on the Optics X, which is Cycles X. And the reason I want to do that is because when I'm going to actually be rendering this out or looking to see what it looks like, it's going to speed things up dramatically. So let's put this on Optics X. We can see in the moment we click this on, we have my graphics card and my CPU. I'm going to click them both on. Now for you, you might only have CUDA or you might have none. If you have none, there's not a lot really you can do here. But generally, if you've got CUDA, click it on. And if you have Optics X, click it on over CUDA. That's basically what you're going to be doing. And now we've got it on GPU, compute. We've got both of these ticked on, which means now we can actually just come in. I'm just going to turn my undo steps up to 150. If you can go to 150, you've got a lot of RAM on your system, please do that. And then what I'm going to do is close that down. Now what that means is that this is going to be much, much faster for me. As you can see, look how fast that is turning around. Much, much faster than what it was before. And that is because I've clicked both of those on and I'm using my GPU. Okay, so what we'll do is I'll show you on the next lesson then how we can change a little bit of this sun to be more of a preference that you like to actually view your model before we actually start building this model out. So it's been quite a long process to get to this part, but I feel like all of the things that we've learned up to this point are really, really worth learning. All right, everyone, so I hope you enjoyed that and I hope you enjoying the course so far, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.